So today's channeling is with Peter Sight. Peter Sight. This is a really magical crystal, so we'll see what comes through today and where it goes. Maybe a crystal that is new to some of you out there, but if you have your crystal and you want to hold it and tune in while I channel with it, go for it. This is one of the crystals that I have this really clear memory of the first time I worked with it because for those of you who aren't familiar with my crystal story, one of the ways that I learned with crystals or learned so many crystal properties was that I would take a crystal, I'd choose it in the morning, I'd read about it, and then I'd wear it throughout the day, or wear it throughout the day and read about it at the end of the day, one or the other, and I'd make note of how it affected me and what I felt and so on, and that's how I learned crystals, and I did that for quite a long time. And Peter Sight, I wore it one day because I wanted to amplify and enhance my psychic abilities, my clairvoyance especially. But Peter Sight is also a storm element, a storm element crystal. And right now I'm writing a series this summer of articles on crystals and elemental energy and how to work with them. And so I had this day where it's like, yes, definitely I felt that my psychic ability was more enhanced, absolutely. But I also had really kind of like a moody day, a bit of a confrontational day. Like it was really kind of an up-down day. And when I came home and I reviewed the book that I worked with, because I worked primarily with the Book of Stones, that's my favorite crystal book. When I reviewed the properties on, I was like, of course it's a storm stone. And storm element crystals and stones, they churn things up, they bring things to the surface, they create change, but very quickly with a lot of turbulence. Another storm stone is moldavite. Moldavite I also think is a fire stone, but it's definitely also a storm element stone. So anyway, we are going to get started now. I'm going to get started with the channeling, and we'll see where Peter Sight takes us. So it's interesting because I'm actually feeling it's almost like, yeah, like vibration, like pulsing energy that's in my core, but it also started off with like tingling in my hand. So the energy comes through really kind of immediately, but it feels encompassing. When I talk about how energy comes in really directly, like with quartz, which is like a laser, or tourmalines, which are like electricity, electric wiring. This is like a pulse. This is like an energy that kind of comes in and builds, but it's very again, the word that I want to say is encompassing or enveloping. Like it feels like it's my whole core and kind of spreading either way through my body, as opposed to going to any one particular chakra or area, apart from, as I said, this tingling that's happening here in my hand. And now I'm feeling my third eye starting. My third eye chakra is joining in with that pulsing. And there's definitely this really, raising of energy, raising of frequency. People who talk about those crystals, what are crystals? Not so much in terms of vitality. This is a different kind of energy. This is a power for people who practice magic, who are magicians, who are witches, who practice earth magic, anything of that ilk, but also people who are psychic, who do divination work. And what I'm getting is that really specifically with divination work, because for those of you out there who are pro psychics, pro mediums, and especially if you've been on the path for a while, you know this. We can be tuned into different realms and different frequencies and different layers of reality. Some of us go really to like, sort of a soul-based kind of spiritual place in terms of themes and lessons and other things, past life stuff, whatever. There are those of us who literally can tune into certain frequencies, certain dimensional frequencies through space-time and be like, next week at 3 p.m., so-and-so is going to knock on your door and you're going to marry that guy. There there are those, and I'm not one of those psychics. I'm not tuned into that specific realm. But for those of you who are, that are very kind of tuned into that sort of, I want to call it reality based, but of course it's not really, because nothing really is reality, or everything is reality. But we won't get into that conversation right now. See how all of this is spinning up. But for those of you who are really kind of keyed into those realms of frequency in terms of divination, or people who are, as I said, are doing magical work, manifestation work, more on the human experience plane, this is a really, really powerful crystal to work with. And one of the things that I'm being shown is to sit with and to hold this crystal, and to let that power build in you. You can even wear it as well. Let it build in you before you start to do your work. And I'm definitely also seeing I'm seeing like an old stone fortress. I have no idea where that is. Northern European, like old stone buildings and works. And it's showing me that it's really also very powerfully attuned to ancient, I want to say ancient civilizations, or older peoples, again, who worked very powerfully in magic. Like what I'm seeing is I'm seeing Northern European, so I'm seeing Norse, I'm seeing Northern European shamanic works. I'm using shamanic as, of course, a very general term, but people who did magical workings from those times, peoples who were really cued in, really tuned in. And of course, I'm seeing other ones, like I'm seeing those in the Hebrew path and faiths. I'm seeing also the Egyptian cultures that were very much built on magical practice and communing with the gods that they connected with and tuned in. I'm seeing that Petersite is a very powerful third eye opener and connector in terms of being able to connect with those realms of magic, those deities, the magical relationship to the world we live in, of earth, of nature, spirit, and of the higher sort of dimensional or frequency spirits that we connect with, either archetypally or again through these connections of faith. Because certainly I'm also seeing Shinto, I'm seeing Japanese Shinto, which is a really, really beautiful faith-based practice from old times in Japan. I'm also seeing Tibetan Bon, Bon, which is their sort of indigenous magical and spiritual practice that was there, that predates, I believe predates, I'm not sure on this, but I'm seeing that it predates when Buddhism came to the land and was born into the land. So very, very powerful crystal, again, for magical working, psychic working. But what I'm seeing is, it raises this power like a storm raises power. For any of us who have ever gone out into a storm, I'm seeing tornado a lot. Like I'm seeing that kind of like vortex sort of storm energy, in terms of, yes, it absolutely churns things up as it goes through. It's almost kind of an accidental thing in a way, because just of the way that it raises power in this very natural, very earth-based way, which is what Petersite tunes into. So again, something to work with, and I'm feeling it kind of winding down, because it comes in and it sort of hits and it sort of does its thing, and then it kind of starts to wind down. So this is definitely a crystal to work with before you start doing those workings, but perhaps not when you go to brunch with your in-laws who annoy you. And that's how this channeling has ended. So really interesting, really fascinating, just going through kind of like that historical sort of cycle of different magical peoples that we've had in human history, and some of their teachings that we still have access to, as well as what it does for our energy. So I feel really tuned in. I think I'm going to go and write now. That feels like a great time to write. So Petersite, for those of you who are new to it, it's worth checking out, it's worth finding, and it's worth adding to your collection. So thank you so much, everyone. And just a final note before I go, next week I'll be back live doing another channeling, but the month of July I am actually taking off. I'm taking a month for vacation, for self-care. I will still be posting channelings each week during that month, but they won't be live. So every Wednesday they'll be posted to IGTV. I'll do some advanced channeling so you guys can still get the magic, and then I'll be back live in August. But as I said, I will be here same time, same place next week for a live channeling. So thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to connecting with you all again soon.